Voila.
Okay.
Every
Again,
time I
every
need to
time
do
there's
this.
something
Every
new.
time
Yeah,
I need to do this.
I need to do something next time. I will.
You do. Anyway,
Yeah.
our next guest, we already stole 4 minutes for her, but let's bring her on. I want to introduce somebody who's a dear friend of mine. Is Dutch as well. She was known, very well known in the, and still is in the test community and TDD community. But nowadays she is a developer advocate for JetBrains, and probably a soon-to-be Java rock star. So let's bring up Marit. Hey, Marit, how are you? You're still on mute.
You'd think we know this by now, right? After the past years.
Oh no,
Sorry.
no worries. So Sonia already
I had mine.
messed up earlier. I probably will mess up during the day, but I'm still high on coffee and caffeine, so I'm good.
Yeah, so like you said, I'm now a developer advocate at JetBrains. And I joined there last July, so still new-ish. And before that, I was a software engineer at bol.com, as you know, because you worked there as well for a while.
Yeah,
and that's
we pretty much worked together there.
Yes, for a while, yeah. And then you left to join Snyk, and then I stuck around for a little bit and left to join JetBrains. I've worked in IT for 20 years, lots of different jobs, different companies. Thanks, Liran. I don't know if I'm a Java rock star, but I do care about software development.
In my book, you
Sorry?
are. In my book, you are a rock star.
Thank you. But yeah, I've worked in software development for 20 years, so I have some opinions on things and some experience here and there that I'd love to share.
So basically, and that tags pretty much along on what we did in the previous hour. We're going to talk about keeping your dependencies up to date.
I don't really have a lot of things prepared. I was hoping to just basically have a chat with you.
That is all fine, because I know we know the topic. We know the topic very well. So
exactly.
let's start with something. You worked at bol.com. We worked out together. And for people who don't know the company, it's a Dutch company. It's basically a company very similar to it's an e-commerce platform. Let's say it like that.
Yeah.
Pretty similar to Amazon. However, Amazon was not available in the Netherlands, but bol.com is basically the biggest.
Yes.
Right.
Also, bol.com is is a online retail platform, like you said, but not secretly a cloud provider. So, you know, unlike some other e-commerce platforms out there.
True that, but just to give perspective on what we did.
The type of business.
Yeah, the type of business. You probably where were you on December 10th, 2021?
Updating all the things. So you mentioned Log4Shell earlier. Fun fact, one of our coworkers at bol.com is actually a Log4j maintainer. I don't know if you know him, Fulkan Yazizi at the Axel team.
I know of him. We don't know each other personally, but I've seen some messages from him in that time when he was updating, and I felt so sorry for him.
I know. And so basically he had planned to go on holiday, but instead got to fix Log4Shell in the Log4j library. So we, as in some people at bol.com, knew it was coming. So I spent the entire Friday basically updating all our microservices. As you know, bol.com uses lots of microservices. All of the teams are responsible for several microservices. Often there are some bigger monoliths that are shared across teams, but most teams have a set of microservices that they're responsible for, as was my team. So we had to update all of those microservices with a newer version of Log4j and deploy them. And that was all in a day, pretty much, that we were doing that. So yeah, I spent the entire day updating everything, basically.
But that's I think that's a good sign. I mean, you did doing that as a company in a day. A lot of companies are jealous that you are able to do that within a day. That means that something is done right, as in you can easily redeploy the stuff.
So I think I know that for my team, I tried to get everything done in a day. We did have several days, so I'm not sure all the teams got everything done in a day. But yeah, the fact that we have microservices and we have CI/CD pipelines means that it is possible to fairly quickly deploy new things to production.
Now it is that Log4Shell was not even national news; it was international news, and everybody, even the general news broadcasters, were talking about this logging framework that was so vulnerable. So there was enough coverage around that. There are like this was one in the few thousand that come up every single year. How are you coping with changing that, with keeping up to speed or updating when there is a new vulnerability?
What I used to do is working on lots of microservices. I would use Maven updates to check for updates if I was working on a particular microservice, because you have it checked out, you do the stuff that you're supposed to work on, and then usually I would do a little bit of cleanup. At a certain point, we got some software composition analysis tool. It wasn't Snyk, sorry, that we used, but we had an internal tool that would show a dashboard of which vulnerabilities are outdated for which of the projects, and you could view your team dashboard to see, oh hey, we have these vulnerabilities, so we need to fix them. So the upside of that is you no longer have to check out each repository individually and check for updates, but you can see them in a dashboard. Of course, the downside is you still do need to go check that dashboard to see if there's stuff that you need to update.
So how do you feel about that? Like these bots, and I don't care if it's Renovate or Dependabot or Snyk open source who does it, but how do you feel about a bot putting a pull request in your repo? I mean, there are a lot of opinions about that, especially in the Java scene.
What I really do like is that you get to automate something that's basically boring. I no longer have to go and check out all of the repositories and go, Maven, show me the updates. But the bot will do that for me. So I don't have to watch for updates. I will just get the PRs incoming, which is nice. So I don't have to go and apply those versions myself. I get the PRs. I get a little bit of information on why that PR was created. If you have your CI/CD, then it will run automatically and show you whether with this new update your code still builds and your tests still pass. Of course, whether a green build means that you can also deploy it sort of depends on how well you trust your test suite. So
that was the question. And you come from a test background. That was on the tip of my tongue. Like, this is so depending on your test suite.
Yes, but at least, so if it's red, then oh, there's sorry for swearing. Oh, drat, there's stuff to be done here. So either there are API changes, so I need to change my code, or my test fails, so I have to look into that. So then at least that it'll be more work. But it automates the little boring bit of having to watch for updates and having to check for updates. So you still have to, check whether you feel comfortable deploying that to production, whether you need to make any changes, when would be a good time to do that, because you have other stuff to do as well. And one of the things I like about Snyk is that it bundles some of the PRs if they are related. And I think that you can configure, or I'm told that you can configure Renovate to do the same, so that lessens the noise a little bit. But yeah, you still do have to manage those dependencies. So I was happy when I implemented it. One of my teammates, not so much, because he was like, this is a lot of noise that we now have to deal with.
Looking back at my own experience, both working at bol.com or one of the banks in the Netherlands, we were always like, I want to fix this on my local machine. I want to test it properly before I even push it to a thing, repository. Because, hey, that's the way we used to work in the last decade or so, because everything was on-prem and that. Did these tools, did they make some sort of mindset change for the teams that, hey, yes, it's a lot of noise, but this can also be used in a good way? Or how was that for you folks?
What I have found out, actually, when I started at JetBrains and tried to, start a new demo project and, add some dependencies, I noticed that we have some new features in IntelliJ for that, where it shows you when your dependencies are outdated. You can see in your POM XML or your build Gradle, if a version is outdated, it will be highlighted with the squiggly lines that if you use IntelliJ, I'm sure you're familiar with. I see Sonia nodding.
Yeah, I'm a huge IntelliJ user. Do you have that somewhere available? Can you show that?
I didn't want to tempt the demo gods, but I have a GIF that I can show that shows. Sure. Let me share my screen.
I will put your screen up.
Yeah, so if I play this GIF, it should show you. So you see the little squiggly lines, and then if you do Alt-Enter, it gives you the option to upgrade that version. Or alternatively, if you hover over it, it will also give you the suggestion to update the dependency. So right in your POM XML, I have from my GitHub graveyard an extremely outdated project that I use for these demos. I'll stop sharing. Yeah, you can automatically update it already from your POM XML or your build Gradle. That works too. But also having an idea of what does my application do? What is the most important behavior that I need to safeguard with having tests in place? Basically, I sometimes liken having a good test suite to wearing your seatbelts. You need it to go fast.
Tempted to say anything, but I want to have your opinion on this question that Lorana asked me. Like, what do you find needs to be improved to better dependency management in the Java ecosystem?
Well, I've operated mainly in the Java ecosystem, or the JVM ecosystem anyway. So I've also done Kotlin and a bit of Groovy and Scala. And I'm quite happy with the way dependency management works in Java. I used to work in a team that had a front-end application as well, but we didn't work on it a lot. So, every month it would be a question of, will it build? And I learned a lot about NPM, mainly how to remove node modules in many different ways. So I'm very happy to not work in the JavaScript ecosystem, to be honest.
I knew this enter was coming. That's why
setup.
I think Liran and I have multiple times we had debates on like in the Node.js ecosystem. If it is very common to have version ranges, and Sonia, please correct me if I'm wrong. Version ranges, like, hey, everything up to 3.6 you can use, depending or between. I found that tedious and irritating, because then it can be that somebody doesn't look at or doesn't really apply to the Semver kind of way of updating and have breaking changes in a minor. So I love pinning into the thing, and that's the thing that everybody luckily does in Java application, like more built system like Maven and Gradle. However, it is possible, but don't use it. That's my opinion.
Exactly. Well, I like my builds to be reproducible. I want there to be less surprises, not more. I like that we pin versions, and
he will probably say, but we have a lock file. Yes, that's like having a band-aid on a shot wound, in my opinion. But hey, let's not get into that.
I was about to say that, but I'm actually like, Liran, help me. You see, like 2 versus 1. What can I say?
Yeah, but that's making one mistake.
I'm really happy that other people do front end and JavaScript, because I cannot. It does not resemble my logic.
Sorry, I want to put it. No, let's not go into this one. Let's not go into this one.
Spaces are easier for the screen readers. So
that is actually true. There is
case closed. Next.
I need to look up that blog, but because there's a great blog on these kind of things for people with disabilities or with visual disabilities. Exactly. That the screen readers are better with spaces. So that's a really good
spaces.
In an ideal world, you want to update your dependency to a newer version when there is a newer version. Do you agree or disagree on that?
Do I want to update my version when there is a newer version? Always and forever?
Well,
I'm gonna go with a standard answer, Brian. It depends.
It depends, absolutely. But
Of course, the
why.
interesting part of the answer is, what does it depend on? So I think in general, you want to keep up with the cadence of newer versions, just so that if you have to update for urgent reasons like Log4Shell, you can, and you don't have a bunch of this guy. Yeah, I think in general, I like to keep up with the cadence of newer versions, but there might also be reasons why you don't want to go straight to the new version, because maybe it doesn't work with other dependencies that you have. This is especially fun with the new 6-month release cycle of Java. So you do want to think about it, but in general, I prefer to stay somewhat up to date.
Question about IntelliJ and the tools. Like I love that. As in, it is right in, like, I'm working in my IDE, and if I use both IntelliJ and VS Code. I love these plugins that help me out with these kind of things. Even though it's just a squiggly yellow line and you can press on it and it helps me out. That's really, really interesting. Can people use that straight away with the community version of IntelliJ? Is that available to everybody?
We have a feature called Package Search, which is a bundle plugin, which is available with Community and Ultimate. So the Community is the open source free version. Ultimate is the paid version. So the thing with the squiggly lines that I just showed you works for everyone. If you are using Ultimate, there's an additional feature called Package Checker that I recently did a video on our IntelliJ IDEA YouTube channel. And what that will do is it will highlight vulnerable dependencies. So not just a squiggly line, but basically like a yellow highlight. And then if you hover over it, it will provide you information on which CVEs are in that, or which known vulnerabilities are in that dependency, with links to more information, as well as have a dependency view, a dependency overview of outdated vulnerable dependencies with severity, so which ones are high or medium, so that you can prioritize which ones to fix first, as you were discussing with Sonia before I joined.
Thank you for this. I appreciate you coming here on board and tell about the story, how you did that at bolt.com, how that translated to the work you do now for JetBrains, and what your vision is on keeping your dependencies up to date. So thank you for being here, Marit.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. See you later. Cheers.